Hi, everybody. It's Joe Cioffi here on this, what's turned out to be a pretty nice Sunday in my neck of the woods. I thought I'd have more clouds to deal with. But in fact, we do have some sun, although it has been on the chilly side with temperatures in the 50s and a bit of a breeze. Welcome again to my YouTube channel. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, thank you for subscribing. If you are a return person and you are a regular subscriber, if not, by all means do. And I just want to point out on the channel and video description, I did add my affiliate link to my to Amazon. It's a great and easy way to support my channel if you're doing shopping on Amazon. If you do it through my link, and Amazon pays a fee back to me, and everybody's happy. You get your stuff, and I can get a cigar and a coffee every once in a while. So again, it's on there. If you'd like to use it as a way of showing support, that's fine. And if you don't, that's fine too. Okay, so just wanted to do that little disclaimer before we move ahead to what's going on weather-wise today. And really, I think the most interesting thing is this strong upper low that is sitting over the Northeast and just kind of rotating around. And we'll pull it up on the radar view because I think this is where it really shows up best. And you actually even have a little bit of convective activity going on through parts of upstate New York, right along the Vermont-New York State border, near the Canadian border. And you can see that counterclockwise rotation that this upper low is causing. Now, we had some showers this morning, and those are long gone, but now we're seeing this shower activity, and some of that snow shower activity, by the way, going on in parts of upstate New York. That is going to be rotating southeastward and will probably reach down here near the coast sometime late tonight or during Monday morning. After that, though, things are going to change, and we are going to see a significant warm-up get underway. Not so much tomorrow, though, but as we go into Tuesday, and particularly Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have some very, very warm spring temperatures that I think will be climbing up into the 80s in some places. So we'll, before we even get to that, though, the other thing I think that's going to be going on this week is the possibility of severe weather. Now, it's been very quiet in the land of severe weather lately, and I'll show you the risk area today. General risk for some thunderstorms going on in... Something's happened here. Hold on. I just kind of hit view. Hold on, guys. Hang on one second. There we go. Or not. Let me try. I'm just having a little bit of technical issues here. Hang on. Okay, so here's our severe weather risk for today, and we've got a marginal risk of severe weather going on in parts of western Texas, eastern New Mexico, and in through southern Kansas. And then on northwestward, we've got a marginal risk up into southeastern Montana and the western Dakotas and northern Wyoming. And that is for today. But we're going to see this risk area increase over the next several days and start moving a little bit further to the east. Now, here's the Storm Prediction Center's risk area for tomorrow. And the area does shift eastward and the threat level increases. So we have a slight risk of severe weather now in some of the same area that we have it today, but also pushing it eastward up in a narrow band on the Oklahoma Panhandle, western Kansas, central Nebraska, and much of southeastern South Dakota, with a marginal risk of severe weather surrounding that. And then it's day 3 where it moves a little further east again, and here we actually have a enhanced risk already being indicated. That's usually, when the Storm Prediction Center is out past the first or second day with that enhanced risk, and it shows up in the third day. And this would be for Um, Tuesday, day 3 in their view is actually Tuesday into Wednesday. So that would be May 1st. I have the right. I'm sorry. Right, May 1st and May 2nd. So 12Z May 1st to 12Z May 2nd. The enhanced risk shows up on the board here in a small area in northeastern Kansas, southeastern Nebraska, southwestern Iowa, the northwestern corner of Missouri, and that's encased inside a slightly larger area of slight risk, encased inside a slightly larger area of marginal risk, which goes all the way up into western Wisconsin. Also, a small area of thunderstorm risk back into parts of southern Nevada, parts of southwestern Utah, southeastern California, and northwestern Arizona. So just trying to identify all the states and which direction this is all going to go in. Meanwhile, just want to show you as far as things going on now, they're basically temperature related on the watches and warnings here, where we've got a small area of freeze warnings and frost warnings up for parts of Ohio, Kentucky, into West Virginia and Northern Virginia. Here, the growing season has already begun. The red areas indicating the red flag warnings that are up for the potential for fire in parts of Minnesota and Iowa, and also back through West Texas and Colorado and much of the Southwest, which is where that it's been bone dry, and we've seen a lot of these red flag warnings show up. And also a small area of winter weather advisories and even a couple of winter storm watches probably being indicated for some of the higher elevations in the central Rockies. So really, it's a fairly benign picture that we're painting here as far as the weather going forward. Now, with the big thing this week in the East is the warm air that is going to be coming in, and the fact that it's going to be here for more than a day or so. And I'm going to first go back and start with today, where we do have this cold pool of air in the eastern part of the United States, and temperatures in some areas in the Northeast today not getting much out of the 40s, and in some cases even not out of the low 40s. Got a bit of a cold night tonight setting up. Wouldn't be surprised, by the way, to see some snow showers at the higher elevations in the Catskills and in areas up north of there as this next spoke of moisture rotates around the upper low. And Monday, it's going to be a little bit tough to warm up in the Northeast, but notice the warming that's going on back to the west and southwest, particularly in the plains and in the upper Midwest with those 70s shooting all the way up. So that is significant, and it is also a sign of the ridge that is building there and gradually shifting into the eastern part of the United States, which by Tuesday afternoon, we start to see that warmth extend into the east, goes back into the plains and the southern Rockies, but really just pushes in through the East Coast and starts moving northward. So you've got the 70s pushing up into eastern Pennsylvania and possibly into southern New England on Tuesday, and then for sure on Wednesday, when I think we're going to see 80s probably extending their way up into southern New England and even into parts of central New England. And Thursday looks like to be the warmest day of the stretch with temperatures in the 80s and even a few areas probably getting into the middle and upper 80s. And then after that, it's waiting for the next cold front to come by, and that'll probably push through Friday night into next weekend. The GFS actually still has it pretty warm here on Saturday before it cools down a bit going into Sunday and Monday of next week. But notice hot in Florida, though, by next weekend with temperatures in the 90s showing up. Did it have? I kind of missed it for Saturday. Even for Saturday, it's got temperatures at 90 or better and into the 90s on Sunday. So some very, very warm air in the southeast and hot in Florida. But we'll see a bit of a cool down in the northeast next weekend into early next week. One of the things I am noticing, though, is at least from the standpoint of the cool downs now, the upper air pattern is going to be in a position where we're not going to see ridiculously cold shots of cold air coming in for this time of year, at least. Temperatures at least behind. Once we get through the warming period, we are going to see temperatures that are going to be maybe close to average, or perhaps on a given day a little bit below, but nothing crazy. So a little bit of a relaxation in the volatility that we saw through April. Here's that wrapped up upper low, and you can see tomorrow morning it's still centered in central New Hampshire, and then finally rotates its way east and out. And here's where the upper ridge builds in on Tuesday. Meanwhile, notice a deep trough out in the west, and that is going to bring cooler than average temperatures out into the western part of the U.S. You've got a ridge in the east, a trough in the west, and that ridge stays in the east pretty much all week. Starts to get suppressed a bit as we go into Friday, as you get a shortwave trough moving across southern Canada. So that brings a cold front through. And then after that, some cooling, but the coldest of the cold air probably stays to the north. And as far as the longer range pattern is concerned, I think it's one where weather systems move along at a regular pace. There's no blocking in the upper atmosphere, so it will probably have cold fronts coming through every 3 or 4 days with some decent weather in between. I don't think there'll be too many complaints regarding that. And when we take a look at what's happening on the surface map, so here's the situation now with the system in the east and a system in the west, and high pressure sort of sandwiched in the middle. The strong southerly isobars, you can see that the GFS does break out some thunderstorms overnight, just about in the same area that we saw the slight risk of severe. A little bit of rain and snow action up in the Rockies. And then as we go into Tuesday, you start to see that severe weather area blossom out, where they show the enhanced risk. As indicated, the GFS has that there with low pressure developing in West Kansas. We've got some rain and snow in the central and northern Rockies, and even extending down into parts of Southern California as that upper air trough in the west takes shape. And meanwhile, in the east, big ridge of high pressure off the east coast, west or even northwest winds. This could get very warm here as we move through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The gradient is a bit on the tight side, so that actually bodes well for coastal areas, which normally this time of year are susceptible to a sea breeze. It may only be confined to the immediate coast, so I think everybody's going to warm up with this, and that holds sway through Thursday into Friday. Notice it does. The GFS does continue to show some heavy shower activity well north and west up to in parts of the Midwest and Middle Mississippi Valley as we get into Thursday and Friday. Much of that initially goes by to my north until the cold front rolls through late in the week and into next weekend. And after that, a little high builds down from the north. So it'll be cooler, but nothing crazy. By the way, off the Florida coast and south of Bermuda, if you take a look here, the GFS for a couple of days has been getting focusing on some energy down in the Northeast Caribbean. I'm going to bring up the map that corresponds to this, and I don't know if it's going to show up here too well. This is at least with respect to the 10-meter wind, but you can actually see there's a little disturbance there in the darker blue that forms into a low that runs out to the northeast. I would tend to think it's a little bit soon to see a tropical system out of this or a subtropical system out of this, but the model's been doing it for a couple of days. So I guess I want to just pay attention to this to some degree. There is going to be some disturbed weather there later this week north of Puerto Rico. But again, my guess is this is probably, it kind of look, the structure of the moisture here, the moisture field and the convection, that looks like a non-tropical system to me, with almost a frontal boundary that extends southward the way it looks, and then it just kind of rides along to the northeast anyway. But we'll just keep a watch on things to see if that winds up to be a very early May subtropical system, but I don't think it will be. Okay, it just looks to me, it looks extra tropical and frontal and that's it. Okay, so off we go to Europe just to show you what's happening here. We do have some rain going on right now through a good chunk of Spain, and even some snow still being indicated in some of the mountainous regions. Rain extending northward up into France and over, excuse me, the Netherlands. A little bit of rain activity going on over parts of Ireland and Western England. That low just kind of finds its way into the English Channel, the eastern part of the English Channel, and then sort of rides its way up into the North Sea. There are going to be a series of weather systems trying to come in off the Atlantic, and the other issue is that there is going to be a rather strong low that's going to form in the Mediterranean coming off the African coast. The models have been showing that for a number of days. That just kind of rotates and spins around and really doesn't do very much. So I'm guessing here that we're seeing just some typical springtime action. And with respect to temperatures across much of Europe and in England, we do have a swath of below average temperatures over England, Spain, France. But once you go into eastern France and head over into Germany, you're seeing above average temperatures covering the bulk of Europe. And going forward this week, the western part of Europe looks to be colder than average, while central and east will be near or above normal right through this week. And going through next weekend, and then it starts to warm up in Western Europe and in England for next weekend. So I guess this is kind of typical spring. Don't really see too much in the way of weather that we have to worry about. When I say that, I mean in terms of big storms. That from big storm systems. We're getting to the time of year now where you're probably not going to see those deep lows anymore, and we're just going to have to wait for the tropics to wake up with some action, which they always do. Whether they do it now in June or do they wait till August? That part of it remains to be seen. So I'm hoping everybody is having a great Sunday here. I'm just running through some of your comments. Let's see. Raining all over our annual Vermont Maple Festival, Kevin Francis. Yeah, you're right under that upper low, and upper lows this time of year. If you get right under them, they can really ruin a good day, especially if it gets convective. But that is going to finally start pulling out, so you should start to see some improvement later Monday and on Tuesday. Israel, I noticed over the past few weeks you didn't look at the Euro and CMC. Is it a waste of time at this point to look at it? Also, they put the GFS. Yes, the GFS, there's a parallel version of the GFS that's now up on viewable on tropicaltidbits.com. Levi Cowan's great site that I use here on a daily basis, and you weather guys should use that too. That is, I believe that may be the result of some kind of GFS upgrade. I haven't gotten an answer to that question, but I'm guessing that is what that is, and that eventually that will become the operational GFS. That has been the track record of how they've been doing things from the Weather Service. So that's my best guess. I'm waiting for one of my friends at the Weather Service to give me an answer on that question. But as the other point with respect to the European and the Canadian, I don't know, the time of year now, at least with what's going on now, when we're talking about, when I'm talking about it in terms of the broad generalities of the forecast, I'll look at what the other models are doing, but it's not like the winter time where you're trying to really get a handle on a developing large-scale storm system. A lot of stuff now is starting to become more small scale, so you're probably going to rely more on the NAM or the NAM3 or some of the mesoscale models when we're dealing with thunderstorms. So I'm just basically, there hasn't really been that much to look at to allow us to compare from model to model. When we get into hurricane season and we start to see these models generate Category 5 hurricanes all over the place, it'll become more useful to go back and start looking at what the different runs are doing. Dio Nankumar just answers your question, by the way. The FV3 is going to be the replacement for the GFS. So right now they're running it parallel. So they call, at the same time, so they call it the parallel GFS until such time that it's ready to become the new front and center GFS model. And then the parallel will stop running, and it'll become the parallel becomes the operational. Raymond, thunderstorms for you on Thursday in upstate New York. Not impossible. I think that you're going to be closer to the frontal boundary than I will be. So I think it's a possibility. You're probably going to stand a better chance of getting them on Friday. What are the summers like? AMD Ryzen fan, nice to see you here. Welcome aboard. What are the summers like if it's much below normal between winter and spring? You know what? You could probably go back. If you go back at some of the cities that have the biggest databases, I don't know that you would find any real correlation between one or the other. There are instances of cold springs which lead to blast furnace summers, and warm springs that lead into uneventful summers from the standpoint of temperature. So there's no real conclusion that we can make with regards to the kind of spring we've had. And by the way, if we look at spring the way the Weather Service does, which is in 3 neat months, March, April, and May, we are now 2/3 through the spring. June is considered a summer month, and we are 2/3 through the spring season, which so far, I think the action of March and April pretty much guarantee that the 3-month period is going to finish below average. Now, whether it's among the colder springs we've had or not, I don't know. April in some places is going to rank in the top 10 or top 15 coldest, which is cold, but it's not top 5. But we'll see. We'll have to see when all the stats come out in a couple of days. But it'll be interesting to see, if May winds up being an average month, the whole season still will wind up being below average. And by the way, at least from the standpoint of New York City, we had a streak, and I think I've mentioned this before. We had a streak for a while that went over 2 years, where I think it was something like 23 or 24 out of 25 months were above average. Well, 5 out of the last 6 now have been below average. Now, I'm talking for one specific point, basically talking about New York City, and it might also be true of some of the climo areas around New York City. But at least from that standpoint, 5 out of the last 6 months now have been below average. So let's see if that trend continues as we make our way through the summer months and into the fall. Pop-up storms here in Lakewood with all summer, like the heat and humidity, expected to be low. I would think that, by the way, I would think Israel, with respect to this week with that west or northwest wind, this is going to be dry until maybe Friday. So I'm thinking there probably won't be any pop-ups to worry about Wednesday and Thursday. Perhaps on Friday when that front gets closer late in the day, there might be some showers with that, or maybe even a couple of thunderstorms in the mix. But as far as pop-ups are concerned, I'm going to lean against that now. Alexis Lopez, good to see you on board too. Yes, it has been a while. Glad you're back. Jason Schaefer, do the models still have a strong tropical system off the west coast of Mexico? No, the GFS had that for one run, and then it disappeared, and I haven't seen it since. So, and I've been looking for it, so it's not there. But my point in showing it was the fact that we're just like in the wintertime when it predicts 99 out of 3 snowstorms. We're getting into the time of year now where we're going to start to see these weather models start spinning up tropical systems. So just bear that in mind when you're looking at it from run to run, that it's pretty meaningless to have them to see that unless you see it over a period of many days, and that there's some justification in terms of the upper air and the time of the year. The probability of having a Category 3 hurricane even in the Pacific off the coast of Mexico at the very end of April, beginning of May, is pretty low. In fact, I would say it's very low. The hurricane season in the Pacific officially gets going May 15th. It would be close enough to the beginning, I suppose, that you could argue that. But I mean, it's kind of to see a Category 3 hurricane wrapped up at this time of year on the models is certainly should raise your eyebrows and your suspicions as far as it being something a bit suspect. Would I consider inland lake? Hold on, I got to look on the map where you are as far as Lakewood, New Jersey is concerned. I would like to say I know every small town and its geographic location, but I don't. Okay, so you are near Brick. I would say you are considered, in my view, you would be, and you're west of the Parkway. So you're somewhere between Howell and Toms River in New Jersey. So I would consider you more coastal central New Jersey than anything else. You are, although I do tend to view areas that are west of the Parkway being more inland and not necessarily deserving of the coastal part in your description. But you're pretty close. And sometimes the coast is going to play a role in the kind of weather that you're going to have, obviously. So, yeah, you're Central Jersey. Okay, that for sure I can tell you you're Central Jersey. My view in Central Jersey is anything south of Route 78. Well, I'm sorry, go south of Route 78. But if you're kind of in the vicinity of 195, you're definitely Central New Jersey. You might be in the southern half of New Jersey, but you're still central. For me, South Jersey is Atlantic Ocean, Cape May, Salem, Cumberland counties, maybe southern Burlington County, Southern Ocean. You might, southernmost ocean, but everybody else to me is central. Don't forget to thumbs up the video, fam. Okay, thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Okay. I'm guessing that's what you mean by that, Ruru. What do I use to record my live streams, Alexis Lopez? I use a feature called, I use an open source software program that is available and it's free. It's called OBS Open Source, and you can download it to your computer. It's really great because it acts like a television production switcher, and you can put all sorts of different elements on. For example, I'll just show you on my on it right now. So when you see all those Brady Bunch boxes, so I got everything loaded into a separate source, and it does give you the options here of taking sources straight off the internet, or you can save the image to your computer and bring it up. A lot of what you see here is our browser sources, so that when I open it up every day, all these maps are updated. And of course, the video source here is me, and I can just with my mouse, I can bring myself full screen or use the command board. It's a very easy system to use. Doesn't cost you anything, which is even better. That's OBS, B as in boy. It's an open product. I think it's called OBS Studios. It's open source. It's kind of like the WordPress for videos. And by the way, if you do have a YouTube channel, they have added a feature on the live streaming called Camera, and that would allow you to take yourself full screen off your desktop. Which is great. I could do that if I wanted to do something like very quick and breaking. But if I want to use graphics like I do, I try to use, I'm going to use the OBS. But if you are, if you do have your own YouTube channel and you do live stream, and by the way, you can, if you are thinking about live streaming, you can use open source as your encoder. Which is what YouTube requires you to have, one of these encoder software things, and you can use open source for that. So it accomplishes a lot of things. And again, as I said before, as I get time and I can I want to bring some live interviews in from the outside, Skypes and that kind of thing. So I may be able to do this when I can. I kind of have it figured out. The big question for me is to be able to sync this up now with somebody who's got the time to jump on board. So hopefully I can get that all underway in the coming months and bring much more to you on a daily basis. All right, folks, I got a couple of posts on the website, so you can check that out. Meteorologistjoecioffi.com and AngryBen's got nycweathernow.com. We don't have a Joe and Joe show tonight, but we will have one tomorrow night on Facebook at 9:15, so you can join me there. And once again, if you're new, thanks for being here. And if you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, by all means, hit the subscribe button. And I do live streams every day. And when the weather is calm, it's calm. But when it's busy, sometimes I'll do 2 or 3 live streams a day. And once again, just a reminder, on the descriptor on the live streams at the bottom is a link to my Amazon channel. It's a link to my Amazon page. And if you want, you can use that if you shop on Amazon. If you shop on that link, Amazon rebates me back some fees. It's usually just a small amount of money, but it gets me a cup of coffee and a cigar, and I'm quite happy with that. And don't feel any obligation to do it. I just want to disclose that Amazon is an affiliate link of mine, and that's what they do. You go to that link, you buy whatever you buy. It's a great way for broadcasters like me who are trying to do this all on their own to earn some fees and basically make a living. So thank you for supporting me. I really, really appreciate it. We will see you on Monday. We'll have our regular YouTube live stream at 6 o'clock Eastern time, and then the Facebook live stream that follows on my Facebook page, Meteorologist Joe Cioffi, and that's at 9:15 Eastern time, and that's with Joe Rayo on the Joe and Joe Show. Take care. Have a great day.